Welcome back, and a special welcome to Sam Faddis, one of our regulars here at Securing America. I'm very pleased to say he's a former career undercover operative for the Central Intelligence Agency. He has served in a number of other capacities as well, and as the uniform of the United States Army as an assistant attorney general in the state of Washington. He has been a candidate for Congress, an author of fiction and nonfiction works, including Beyond Repair, The Decline and Fall of the Central Intelligence Agency. We're delighted always to have a chance to catch up with him, especially about his reporting at andmagazine.com. Sam, welcome back to Securing America.
Thanks for having me as always, Frank. Appreciate it.
Sam, I'd like to start with a phenomenon that we discussed earlier with Chris Chappell, the Chinese call elite capture. You've done a tremendous amount of reporting on this at andmagazine.com, also at accountabilityinitiative.org. We've described not only uh, the compromise of the president in the United States, but quite a number of his senior subordinates and other elected officials at the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. One of the additional developments in this space has been some extraordinarily important forensic examination that our friend Jack Maxey has been doing of Hunter Biden's laptop, in which he's been able to extract uh, information that has not come to light to date and make it accessible to others, enabling us to have a far deeper appreciation of the extent to which the president and his family were indeed compromised by the Chinese communists, and to what end. Talk a little bit about the problem at the macro level and the specifics here with Joe Biden.
Right. Well, I mean, elite capture basically is a term used by the Chinese. We would say agents of influence. It essentially amounts to recruiting, buying, co-opting people who are in the elite in a target country, folks who have power, who have influence, so that those people will then pursue the aims of Beijing, making them into their helpers. Um,
Sam, of course, you did for a living this kind of tradecraft, not for the Chinese Communist Party, fortunately, but for the United States of America. You have an appreciation for how it's done, how it can be done effectively, and the difference that it makes. How would you assess the abilities of the Chinese in this regard?
The Chinese are exceptionally good at it. I mean, probably first and foremost because they devote such resources in terms of personnel and so much money to this. So they're doing this on a scale that I don't think anybody else in history has ever done. And we are, of course, at the top of the list of target countries. And they are, in intelligence terms, we would say recruiting people at all levels all across this country. And if you look at everything we know about the Bidens, about Joe, about Hunter's laptop, the whole ball of wax, in my opinion, what you're looking at is an absolutely classic case of them having co-opted, bought, recruited, whatever term you want, Joe Biden. That's what people need to understand about the laptop story, right? This is not about Hunter. It's not about hookers. It's not about drugs. I mean, all of that is in here, but the central issue is that what is being purchased here is Joe. That's what Hunter's selling. That's what all this money and cash is for. It's buying the man
Sam,
who
I'm
now
not sure
sits
that
in the
most of
Oval
us
Office.
understand how the outlay of cash, the compromises of the president's son, and the other evidence that's coming to light could translate into, in the hands of masters of influence operations and elite capture more generally, real advantages to a foreign power, strategic perhaps advantages at that, and very much to the detriment of our country. Give us a sense of that, if you would.
Well, I think most people, when they start talking about intelligence, because what they know about it, when they talk about espionage, what they know about it, they probably got from watching some movie on television that wasn't particularly realistic. And so they immediately talk in terms of blackmail. Okay, it is not that blackmail doesn't happen, but honestly, that is not the number one thing in any intelligence officer's toolkit. What it's about is pushing the buttons inside your target's head that will make him do what you want. And in this case, what you have is a family enterprise on the part of the Bidens, in my opinion, that is clear. It's done in broad daylight. We have almost infinite examples where people are buying Joe Biden and he is doing what is asked of him in exchange for that cash. So this is about the most straightforward recruitment you could think of, and we have almost endless examples of where this has happened in broad daylight. I mean, let's just talk about the famous Burisma example in Ukraine, right? This is not necessarily the communist Chinese, but here we have, you know, Hunter gets hired by a firm that he has no qualifications whatsoever for the job. And Joe jumps on Air Force Two and flies to the Ukraine and tells the Ukrainian government straight up, either knock off the investigation of this company or I withhold all U.S. aid to your country. Right there. He brags about it on tape. You can watch it online. Right there, you want to know how this works? That's exactly how this works. Somebody pays, Joe takes some action for him.
What I'm interested in, Sam, is how this is translating, perhaps as we speak, into real benefit to the Chinese Communist Party. Could you give us an example of, well, recent accomplishments in this regard? Afghanistan comes to mind as a prime example. How have the Chinese translated that concession or defeat by Joe Biden into real material advantage to them?
I think even just to list all the things that have happened already in this administration that have benefited the Chinese would probably take the rest of the show, wouldn't it, Frank? I mean, everything this guy has done since he sat down in the Oval Office has benefited the Chinese. He's given them Afghanistan. He is they're sitting on our old air base at Bagram. He's destroyed our energy.
Lithium, not the least of those benefits. Sam, we have to take a very short break. When we come back, I want to drill down with you on some other things that are happening in Afghanistan that are also deeply problematic for the United States. That more with Sam right after this.